everyone to our next installment of Meet the California Squad. I'm really excited to have today Board of Trustee of Riverside County Board of Education member, Corey Jackson, who's also a known social justice leader in Inland Empire with us today. And we're so excited that you are running for the California State Assembly. As our viewers know, the Working Families Party is uplifting the California legislature this year because we have an exciting opportunity to elect up to a third of the new members of the state legislature. And as our audience has heard, we really believe that this is one of the most important legislative bodies in the country. It represents 1 out of every 8 Americans and passes at least 3 times as many bills as US Congress on any given year. And on so many of the issues that we care about, whether it's access to reproductive health, sentencing and criminal justice reform, to Medicare for all, these issues are actually being fought in the state capitals of our country and not in Washington, D.C. So Trustee Jackson, so great to have you on today. Please tell our audience and supporters a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. I am a social worker by training. And so I have my master's in social work, and in July, I'll have my doctorate in social work. And I've been putting that to use really for the last 10 years, as I'm the founder and CEO of SBX Youth and Family Services, which is the community development corporation specializing in community youth development work, dealing now with the homeless, and of course, all the serious work surrounding the pandemic as well. I was blessed enough 2 years ago to be elected to the Riverside County Board of Education, where I primarily focus on, dismantling the school to prison pipeline in Riverside County, to making sure that we recognize the humanity of our children, which is just so important. And how we treat our children is a reflection of the health of our society overall. A lot of the work that I've done, of course, is through the NAACP. I've been an NAACP member my entire adult life. And so I serve as the political action chair for the Riverside NAACP, where I led the fight to declare racism a public health crisis in Riverside County. So I've just been blessed to be in my young age to know that service is an important part of my life, and that's what helps. That's what makes me happy. And I look forward to hopefully bringing that passion to Sacramento.
So one of the goals of the California Working Families Party is to make the California legislature sexy. We want our voters and our supporters to know what the legislature does, who's running for it, and to even want to run for the state legislature, because it does so much and is one of the most relevant legislative bodies, again, in the country. So a question we've been asking all the members of our squad is, what makes the California legislature sexy to you?
Absolutely. Well, what makes this sexy is people must understand the responsibility of state government. And our Constitution says that the state government is in charge of looking after the health and welfare of its citizens, right? So that just means that we have too many of our brothers and sisters out there in various communities who are just in survival mode. It is the state government's job to provide an atmosphere where people can stop just surviving, but they can have an opportunity to thrive. And so much of the suffering that too many of our neighbors are experiencing is a direct result of what our state government does. And so if you want to be happy, if you want to be healthy, you need to pay attention to Sacramento.
So you've already had quite a career before even running for the state legislature, serving as an elected official and as a community leader in your region. What have you been most proud of accomplishing?
Wow. I think the thing I've been most proud of is actually before I came here. I toured for the very first time a property that we now own as a nonprofit organization that will be responsible for providing youth homeless housing. And this project, when it's fully developed in 5 years, will almost eliminate childhood homelessness in the city of Moreno Valley. And so after 10 years of work, being able to first being able to now be an institution in our community, right? Too many of us just do programs and projects, but we know that the true test of leadership is not what you currently do, it's what you leave behind. And so this I think, just very fortunate to making sure that as our community is dealing with the toughest things, we are providing some of the solutions to those toughest things that our society is currently facing.
So tell us what you think could have been different in Sacramento and for working Californians if we had already elected a squad 5 years ago.
Wow. I mean, I think the most obvious thing is that everyone would have health care at this time. And people will stop getting these surprise bills in the mail. Seniors will have to stop thinking about whether they should get checked in the hospital or whether they have to worry about making their prescription drugs go further, right? All of those things. I think the most compelling thing that California would have at this time would be healthcare, which is a center point of being able to thrive.
So speaking of, when you win on November 8th, what will you then introduce as your first 3 bills as a state legislator?
Wow. I think the first one would be to institute universal childcare. We've seen just how important childcare is to our society, and how essential it was to in the pandemic. But unfortunately, we understood that we were not prepared either. And so we've got to have universal childcare so parents don't have to decide on watching their children or providing for their families. I think the second one would be to declare disparities based upon race illegal in California. We have too much institutional racism that is that you're able to see the various disparities. And so ensuring that anyone who receives state funding, it's time for them to do an anti-racist audit and to be able to identify the racism that currently exists in their policies and practices, but then creating a plan to do it. The third one, let's see. Probably the third one is we've got to clean up our air. In the Inland Empire where I am, we have the worst air quality in the nation. And we are the ground zero on warehouses. And so we have got to get serious about cleaning up our air because we have some of the highest rates of children going to the emergency room due to uncontrolled asthma.
I'm glad that you mentioned an environmental issue, because I think often Californians think because we live in such a blue democratic state that we're leading on climate change. And yet, in so much of California, but in particular, our poorest working class neighborhoods and communities of California are disproportionately affected by the work that we're not leading on to advance in the fight against climate change. So as someone who has run for office before, I know how demoralizing and exhausting this work is. But there are always stories while you're out on the field, door knocking and canvassing, that lift your spirits and remind you of why you're even running at all. So I was hoping that you can share with us one of your favorite door knocking or canvassing stories.
Wow. I think because I've been at this for a while, people really remember when you knock on their door, and they can tell you when you did it, the conversation that you had, even if it was just for a brief moment. The fact that someone took the time out to respect them enough as a voter to meet them face to face and give them an opportunity to ask you the tough questions, they remember it. And it is always such a blessing to be able to go to someone's door and they remember, or they remember some other interaction they had with you in the community, right? And so those are the great times that I cherish the most.
Another thing that people often don't realize is the sacrifice that people make in order to serve in our state legislature, one of which is commuting all the way to Sacramento. So tell us a little bit about what your commute will look like should you win, and what your schedule will look like Monday through Sunday as a legislator.
Wow. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm from Southern California, so our commute is a little longer and takes a lot more preparation. And so, it's anticipated that, Monday through Friday, I'll be in Sacramento, and then Saturday, Sunday, do as much as you can to give people an opportunity to meet with you and chat with you and learn, stay in contact, connected to the community during the weekend. And of course, because now we're so used to a lot of virtual opportunities, I don't see that stopping. So even though I may be in Sacramento the majority of the time, making sure that their voices are being heard and fighting for their issues, that I take the time out to still find ways to connect with the people who I serve.
But tell us about what your actual commute will look like. Will it start on Sunday night or Monday night? And then what will happen?
Wow. Well, Sunday night, going to the Ontario airport, catching a Southwest flight up there to Sacramento, getting as much sleep done. And then Monday going into the office, and I'm sure there'll be nonstop meetings and hearings and all that kind of stuff, Monday through Friday. And then Friday, flying on down back to the district, Ontario airport, and then a 30-minute drive into the district to be able to have as many meetings and go to as many events as possible. And so that's generally what I anticipate doing.
So tell us one thing that most people don't know about the district that you are running to represent.
Probably that this district represents probably the second most underserved communities in Riverside County, and that the essential things that you need to be healthy, you most likely have to leave the community in order to receive those services. And so in the nonprofit world, we call those service deserts, where you can't get what you need just in your community alone. And even if you find yourself homeless, you have to leave your community to be able to get shelter, right? Because there's no homeless shelters. There's no housing opportunities for those who might find themselves without shelter. And so I think that's the most important one, but also we are probably the most diverse district as well, full of culture, full of opportunity, and full of people scraping and scrounging every day to make things work.
So, Trustee, we are getting to the lightning round portion of the interview, where we have some rapid response questions to help our audience get to know you a little bit better. So first, are you a morning or a night person?
Night person.
Me too. Coffee or tea drinker?
Neither. Mountain Dew.
Ah, and what song do you canvas or campaign to get energized?
Right now is 777 by Silk Sonic.
And what are you binging when you're not campaigning?
Game of Thrones.
Ah, still. Favorite eating spots in your district?
Oh boy. Golden Dragon for Chinese. Oh my goodness. And probably Cupcake Espresso Bar.
Yes.
as
You'll have
well.
to take me there when I come and visit.
Absolutely.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Whoa. Tootsie Roll by the 69 Boys.
And one of the least enjoyable jobs you've had?
Starbucks.
And one of the most difficult questions that we ask our candidates, Lakers or Clippers?
Lakers. It ain't difficult for me.
And if you had to delete every app on your phone, but three, which three would you keep?
Ooh. I would keep texting app. That's very important to me. CNN app. I'm a news buff. And Facebook app.
It's interesting. Every candidate has different answers for this one. Final question. Tell us one thing that you love about this great state of California that we are so fortunate to live
in. One thing I would say, things are tough, but you can get the help if you need it in California. I think that's the most important thing. We're in a bubble, and I think we take care of our folks better than most states.
Yeah, and we're so lucky to have leaders like you that want to serve in our community and want to serve our entire state by going to Sacramento and serving on our state legislature. Trustee Jackson, thank you so much for being with us today and fitting us in your busy schedule, but most importantly, thank you so much for running. Tell us what your website and social media handles are so that our supporters can follow you as well.
Absolutely. My website is Corey, CoreyAJackson.net. And then usually all of my social media handles are Jackson835, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
Thank you. And we look forward to you coming in the top 2 on June 7th and winning on November 8th and serving our great state.
Absolutely. Let's get to work.